Hey guys, welcome back for another Farm Fact Friday. I'm really excited to be here on a Friday evening, although it feels much later than it is with the time change. It's just almost 6:30 and it's very, very dark. So the lighting isn't perfect, but we are going to take another ride, this time in a tractor, and we're going to talk a little bit about what happens after we get everything off from harvest. So first of all, if you've gathered already, timing in farming is super important. There are certain times of the year that things happen. If you're in the ag community and living this, you know that there are seasons that are very busy. Family meals look much different, hours are much different, and you just kind of go with the flow until everything gets done. Now, if you live in the ag community, or if you're driving through on occasion, you may also recognize these because things may be noisier, you may notice different smells, and also, you know, there could be traffic differences. So all of those just go to show that timing, we have to do certain things at particular times of the year. So what I want to talk about tonight is, now that the fields are bare, meaning all the crops are off, what do we do? And that, first of all, and there's a couple things we're going to talk about. The first one being manure management. So if there are animals on the farm, we have to do something with the manure. So things can be stored on the grounds. We of course don't want to spread manure when there are active plants on the field, so that happens after everything happens at harvest time. So fields are bare. Once we can get on them and spread that manure, that's when we take care of it. So hence the timing of smells, though short-lived, it can be very noticeable. So, but the important thing about manure is that it fertilizes the soil. And if you recall, we go back to a previous Farm Fact Friday where we're standing in the rain and we were talking about thunderstorms that involve lightning. And lightning itself can bring nutrients, one of them being nitrogen, to the corn, which is very helpful for growth. Same thing can happen for the manure. It also produces nitrogen, which is a very important nutrient for crop growth. The other thing it does is it recycles nutrients. So if you are a person that eats organic food, organic farming can get its fertilizer from manure. Sprays for fertilizer are not allowed in organic farming. So if you eat anything organic and they use natural fertilizers, they're using manure. Okay, so that was our first thing that happens after we take off the crops if there are animals involved in the farm operation. The second thing that we do is we work ground. Soil management is very important, and there are lots and lots of different implements that can be used. Of course, I think a field trip to a local implement dealer could be a fun interview to see what the different options are. So I'll see if they're open to that, and we'll put that on our list of future episodes. But generally, our goal really is to keep the soil healthy and ready for the next growing season. We want to make sure that the seed, when it's planted, has everything that it needs to get off to a good start. So there are three things within soil management that we want to achieve. The first one, we want to control the weeds, because if we can control them now, that's less we have to do later. The second thing that it does is it mixes in the organic matter. So if you go back to some of our other videos where we were showing you combining, anything that comes out of the back of that combine, that is organic matter, and it's important. And by working it into the soil, it not only adds those nutrients back in, it also helps with that decomposition process. So very cool. And then the third thing it does is it helps to loosen the ground. Now, there is such a thing as overworking the ground. We don't want to do that. We don't want it to become too stiff. We also don't want it to get to a point where it won't hold moisture, because we know that seeds, along with nutrients, also need moisture. They need water. And if that soil can't hold water, it doesn't do us much good. So we also want to make sure that we don't work the ground when it's too wet. That can cause, drying out and then clods, clumps of dirt, and then it's very hard to kind of deal with that at a later time. So with that, we're gonna take a ride. I'm gonna put the camera at the back so you can see the implement working as I drive the tractor and get another strip here worked on the ground. So as a kid that grew up in a tractor with my dad, mom, brothers, whomever, one thing that I always took along with me in the tractor was a pillow and a blanket, because the sound and hum and noise of the tractor always put me to sleep. But it was also important to bring things to occupy time, like books or games, and most importantly, drinks and snacks. So I would love to hear what your kids, your grandkids, your neighbor kid that loves to ride with you, I would love to hear what they enjoy bringing with them in the tractor, and it may give me an idea for what to send my kids that also love riding in the tractor with their dad and even their mom. So with that, let's take a field trip. And if you can hear that beeping, that noise right there, that is auto steer that's working off of GPS. So if you've been with us at all on other videos, you know that our GPS helps to make us efficient, effective, and we can watch what's going on instead of worrying about steering. So I can watch the implement to make sure no issues are happening, such as, like areas that are getting clogged. I can also look ahead to make sure, we're not going to run over big rocks. Sometimes there may be animals in the field, you never know. So auto steer is definitely a technology that is newer to farming and something very helpful. The GPS also has a screen inside, a monitor basically inside the tractor, which basically puts a grid on the field and helps guide us for how it's lining us up. Once we're within a certain distance on that line, we can hit a button and it corrects itself, and it does the work until we get to the end of the row. At the end of the row, it does beep at us, letting us know that we should definitely start to think about manually operating it at the end, which requires then lifting up the implement to make the turn. So although we call it auto steer, there is still a human element that needs to be considered. It's not that we can let these big machines just go on their own. We still have to be in here operating them to make the manual turns at the end. All right, guys, well, that's working ground in a nutshell. Back and forth, and like I said, if you have snacks, drinks, things you like to take with you to the field to ride along, I'd love to hear your ideas in the comments. That could be entertaining. So with that, have a wonderful rest of your Friday evening, a great weekend, and we'll check you back next week for another Farm Fact Friday. Take care.